hello, and welcome back to another episode of Empowered Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Michael Abney.
And I am Marilyn Egan.
Hey.
Yay.
We are a little podcast, and we talk about things that could help you live life a little bit more consciously. Like, that's the whole context. And how we do that is we have conversations with ourselves sometimes, me and Marilyn, and sometimes we have amazing guests that come in and share how they've been living their life more consciously and what they're up to in their life. And today we're joined by
Meredith Daniels.
Yay.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
You're so welcome.
So excited to be here.
Yes. So I put out a little thing on Facebook, and we were like looking for guests, and we met 3 years ago when we were 3 or 4 years ago when I was doing an Abraham series at the Peace Place.
Yeah.
That's how we met. And like, look at you now. Like, look what happened. So it's really exciting because I'm interested in like hearing about more about your journey, where you're at and what you're up to now, and how that plays into our listeners listening, so that they can bring little tidbits into their life and help them shift as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, my spiritual journey started back when my dad passed away 16 years ago. And there have been, I mean, we could spend the entire half hour just talking about that. So I'll skip a bunch of parts of that. But long story short, I ended up getting into essential oils and the whole like natural crunchy mama lifestyle, while at the same time being on the spiritual journey and, you know, doing stuff with Marilyn and, you know, Reiki and all the things. And somebody asked me if they said, you know, I'm getting certified in this technique that is combining oils with ancestral healing. Would you be interested in a session? And I was like, yes, please. Like, not going to turn that down. And so she did this session for me, and it was great. And I didn't think a whole lot of it afterwards. But, you know, down the line, I went with my mom to put her dog to sleep. She wasn't doing well. She was old, all the things. And while the dog was passing over, all of a sudden this little like thought bubble popped up, and I saw the dog as a puppy, and she was 4 pounds fully grown. So as a puppy, she fit in the palm of your hand, right? And she was in this field of grass and jumping up and down and saying, "Look at me, I don't need that old body anymore." And I was just like, what the heck is happening right now? Like, this is new. And so I didn't really know what that meant. And, you know, if I could recreate a situation like that or anything like that. And so the next summer, I ended up going to a workshop on like opening up your mediumship abilities. And it was with this guy named Simon Hay from Australia. And long story short, by the end of the night, I'm telling the guy next to me all about his dead grandmother. And I was like, what is going on? This is, you know, this is so crazy. So I started doing readings for my friends and just practicing, and did that for about a year. And then I kind of came out of the spiritual closet, you know, on Facebook. And another DoTerrra friend asked for a reading. So I did that for her, and she said, "Oh, you know, I have this back pain and my grandma had this back pain. Do you think it's related?" And instantly gem popped into my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, you need a gem session, because this is going to help clear the back pain, not only for you, but also for your grandma. Even though she's passed, like the emotions that are causing that back pain, it's going to clear it all out. And so in that moment, I was like, I need to become certified in GEM, which stands for Generational Emotional Mapping. I don't think I've said that yet. And so I've figured out how to go through that process, and here I am a year and a half later.
Yay.
So
I love it that you like
Yes.
that experience. I love when we hear stories about people being pulled into the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And you can definitely tell that you did that.
Yeah.
So like how these little quirky things that you just noticed that, and then that turned into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like not an accident.
No, not at all. I mean, my whole journey has been, one stepping stone leads to the next. And forever I was like, I don't understand why I'm on this stepping stone. And then the next thing came along and it was like, oh, now that makes sense. So, yeah.
But grateful for that stepping stone.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, even the unpleasant stepping stones that didn't seem like blessings at the time.
And I remember when
Right.
we met, we were talked about the DoTerrra because I use it too. So I love that was a part of that leveling up for you as well.
Yeah,
like
totally.
the connection. Like imagine if you hadn't had that before or that lined up, because that was at a different time when you found DoTerrra, right?
Right.
See, it's all part of the.
Yeah.
So do you use the oils in your gem work?
I do. Yeah, it's a big part of it, actually.
Okay. Okay, good.
I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the premise of GEM is it's all based on Dr. Bruce Lipton's work with epigenetics. So breaking that down just briefly in case anyone doesn't know what that is, basically it means you're not a slave to your genetics. So a lot of people think, oh, everybody in my family has cancer. That means I'm going to get cancer. Just because you have the gene doesn't mean that it has to be expressed. So what Dr. Lipton said is you can control whether those genes are expressed or not expressed with a couple different things. The first is your environment. So, how you eat, your exposure to toxins, the type of cleaning products and beauty products and all of that you use obviously plays a huge role in the health of your body. But the main factor is your beliefs. So, if you believe you're going to get cancer, guess what? Chances are you're going to get cancer, right? But the tricky part is in terms of changing those beliefs, you can't just sit there and be like, oh, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get cancer anymore. You have to actually believe it on that subconscious level
Right.
for it to really manifest through your body. So taking that a step further is a lot of people don't realize that our emotions, if we don't process them from like a traumatic experience or something like that, they become embedded in our DNA. And then that gets passed down from generation to generation to generation until somebody clears it. So most of the things that are showing up in your life, whether it's a physical ailment, chronic pain, regular illnesses, something like that, or things like anxiety or depression, limiting beliefs, any of those types of things, most likely didn't start with you. They were passed down from previous generations. So there was actually a study done on mice where they took a mouse, put it in a box with cherry blossoms and shook the box. And they did that for several days. And then a week or so later, they had the mouse reproduce. And the offspring from this mouse, not just the next generation, but multiple generations afterwards, all feared the smell of cherry blossoms without having been shaken in the box. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but they all had larger cherry blossom scent receptors in their noses and in their brains. So it had that physical and psychological effect on the offspring from an experience that their ancestor had had. So in GEM, what we do is we identify the emotions that are stuck in your energy field, and we clear them not only for you, but for all of the generations going back to that original point of trauma, as well as clearing it for generations going forward.
So when you say clear, we know what that means, but sometimes our listeners may not know our verbiage.
Yeah.
So let's take just the word clearing, and that's stuck in our bodies, and break that down for somebody so that they understand really what that means to clear that.
Yeah.
Or your method, because really it boils down to the awareness of the person holding the spot. But like we all have our techniques and things that work for the release of that. But like what's the process of when you say clear, what is that?
So I use energy testing to figure out, I have a whole list of all of the oils and I test, okay.
Testing? Like muscle testing?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I figure out, okay, which oil do we need? And then for people who aren't super familiar with essential oils, they have amazing properties like, if you have a headache, you can put peppermint on or, things for physical ailments. But they also have a lot of emotional properties to them as well. So there are specific emotions that are tied to each oil. And so we figure out which oil you need and then which emotions from that oil are stuck in your energy field that are causing that misalignment. That's creating whatever issue you're having. So then we figure out, okay, how many generations back do these emotions go? So a lot of times they're going like 6 or 7 generations back. And then we figure out which chakra we're going to apply the oil to. And if you are doing this virtually with me or you don't have the oils, that's totally fine. We just set the intention that you do and you just place your hands on that chakra. And then I read what I like to call the magic words. I called it that for my kids. And I was like, ooh, I like that. We're going to just use that from now on. So I read the magic words. And what that is it's like a script that incorporates an affirmation for that particular oil. So we're infusing the positive energy of that affirmation into your energy field, which then neutralizes the negative energy from the emotion that was stuck there. So it allows it to clear out of your energy field, which then allows your energy to realign and heal.
Wow.
And it raises the frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it can heal.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What's your experience of watching people go through that?
It's fascinating. I mean, some of the things that people have experienced are amazing. I mean, when I first had my very first experience with it and somebody did it for me, not to get overly personal, but I had gotten my period back after having my 3rd child and it was horrendous, like on the couch in tears, like calling my mom saying, when did you go through menopause? And like trying to do the math, like it was that bad. And I had one gem session on this issue and it's been fine ever since. Like I barely notice that it's there. So, for me, having that change on a physical level so immediately was like, oh my gosh, this is super powerful. But seeing things in other people, my favorite story is on my husband. He had this whole belief that men don't cry. And to the point where like we found stories from his childhood where he had written in school, here's a story about a family. The entire family cried except the dad. And it was like, oh, okay, we need to work on releasing some emotions here. And so I did a gem session for him on it, and he cries all the time now. And I mean, like reading Harry Potter to our kids, he's, crying at all the sad parts. And, it's just so nice to be able to watch him release those emotions. Yeah. I've had other clients who have healed from chronic back pain. I've actually worked with several moms, one who had a very traumatic birth experience and had a lot of depression and anxiety around that. And she said, after these sessions, she felt so much better and, was just able to function in her life, with her kids and doing all the things that, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Mom life, I have alarms going off all the time. I forgot to turn that off.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Like everything's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had another mom who was dealing with fertility issues. And so this was super interesting. We were talking and she said, I have these fertility issues. And then I also have these issues with my mom. And the root issue for us to work on showed up as her mom stuff. And so we worked on clearing that. And she texted me a couple weeks later and was like, guess what? I'm pregnant. So,
So people, you're having like real physical things like occur, like manifestations after this.
Yeah.
So I just want to be I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So nothing happens outside the body or the experience of the person. It's all from the inside out. Correct. So I know that you would know that. Mm-hmm. So share with us how what you're doing does that with the person that you're working with. Do they go there? Are they aware? What's their level of awareness when you're doing this work such that, because it's got to be there,
right?
Because there's no such thing as a magician that wishes things off of people. It's like we're creating our reality. We can come and assist, but and these are amazing things to be aware of, like the oils. It's all connected, and I love that you delved into this, but I'm so interested in that point of where the person that is releasing those things, those trauma things, where are they mentally in that process as you take them through?
It really depends on the person. So obviously, if somebody's not open to the healing, they're not going to show up for me to begin with. But, I always tell people, I'm not healing you. You're healing yourself. I'm just assisting in the process. I really believe that everybody is their own healer. So as people are listening to the magic words, people have all sorts of different experiences. So some people will have like a physical experience where they feel tingles or they feel warmth. I have one friend who physically her body unwinds, she sits there and creates circles and leans over to the side and all of these different, positions that it's physically unwinding from her body. Some people will have visualizations. Some people will cry. Some people, this is very rare, but some people will get sick afterwards. I worked with a little boy and his mom called and was like, he has a low-grade fever now. And it's sometimes that just happens. Some people throw up afterwards.
Burning it off.
Burning it off or blowing it out or...
Right. Yeah. Right. However, it needs to release from their system. And other people don't really feel anything at all. So it just depends on the person.
But are they clear about exactly what is being cleared and the connection?
So I tell them, these are the emotions that are showing up and this is what we're clearing. And, I walk them through the whole process. So they're aware of these are the emotions that we're clearing right now. And the fascinating thing is every time people are like, yep, I have that emotion, that emotion, that emotion, that emotion. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking at the list of oils and everything is numbered. And so before I tell you what is coming up, I'm just reading numbers because I don't want the energy of the words to interfere with the testing.
Right.
And so I will sit there and say, okay, you need oil, the oil from column 4, number 13. And, I'm purposely not looking at what the words are either as I'm doing this. And the things that show up are exactly what the person is going through and experiencing. So, it's I don't want to use the word crazy, but it's crazy, how accurate it is.
It's really real.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good crazy.
Yeah,
right.
It is. And they know that it's coming through the generations too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk about okay, so these emotions go back 5 generations on your dad's side.
Yeah.
And so it's really fascinating when you do the genealogy and think back okay, so 5 generations ago would have been these people who were living here. And, at that point, you get that far back, you're not going to know exactly what happened to somebody.
No.
But you can think about okay, if this person was living here during this time, these were some of the general things that they were probably experiencing.
Yes.
So, and for anybody, when you think back even just a couple generations in your family, you most likely had somebody who fought in a war or at least, lived through a war. There was the Depression. there was the Holocaust, there was slavery, there, all of these like global traumatic events that people lived through, not to mention if somebody experienced a miscarriage or the loss of a loved one, or if a 2-year-old got separated from their mom in the grocery store for 5 minutes. All of these things.
Or in the cornfield.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All of these traumatic events that back then, really up until very recently, the societal expectation was life is hard, deal with it. They didn't send you to the therapist to talk through your emotions or, process any of this. You just had to
survive,
bury it. Yeah, and survive.
It wasn't okay to talk about it.
No.
Right.
Even as recent as like my mother's generation, if there was any talk of, oh gosh, I'm
clearing.
Yeah, never said clear.
No, you're clear.
Yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's for her and for me. You
Ancestral.
could not talk about it because you might get locked up if you said you feel crazy.
Right.
And you never said those words.
Yeah.
You didn't say, I don't understand how this works. I don't understand why I'm feeling this. They didn't talk about how they felt.
Period.
Right. But my mother also spent almost 3 years in bed from depression. But they didn't call it that. They called it a light heart attack. I knew later it was an anxiety attack. But they put her on a drug and that she couldn't function in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was okay versus saying she felt crazy.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
Or that she was depressed. You could not say those words.
Right. Well, and how many times do people who suffer from anxiety and depression say, I don't know where this is coming from? There's not a trigger. There's not a traumatic event that they can remember early on in their life, but they'll be, in the grocery store or driving over a bridge and all of a sudden they have a panic attack and they don't know why.
Yes.
They're things that they're not aware of from those previous generations that are affecting them.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yay.
Where do you
That's very
see
powerful.
like this is sort of new, right? That you're coming up with this or working with this modality?
Yeah, so I got
Relatively.
certified like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. But
Was
in
this-
this year and a half has been a different
Yeah.
Yeah.
energy for all of us to be
That
in.
is very true.
Was
Yeah.
it connected? Was the break of the pandemic, like, did that open that up, or was that somehow connected to you doing this? Because the timing, I'm just curious.
No, so I got certified. I took the course at the end of February 2020, so right before it started. And then, I had to practice on a certain number of people before I got my certification. And so that was happening like during the pandemic. So it was mostly Zoom sessions and then like working on my family. So, and then actually I wasn't really able to do it, for several months because I was stuck at home, with everybody there. And then I had a pod come over for virtual learning. So it was, my house turned into a schoolhouse for the first semester. So I really didn't have a whole lot of me time to do the stuff that filled my cup and, what I wanted to do, which is this, it feels so amazing to help other people. So,
Right. And also aligning with your purpose and
Yeah.
like what your life is calling you to be.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah. However, I do find it interesting during that time, you are degreed as a teacher.
I am.
And
yeah.
then you had these children. So that is a gift. And you were working and helping. I mean, that was a tough time for a lot of people to figure out what to do. They had to go back to work.
Mhm.
What do you do with your kids? So
Right.
that was a huge piece that I feel kind of helped you move into this part that fills your passion.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely happened for a reason, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Everything
So
does.
It always does. But it just kind of wove things together for you about how you could help the world.
Yeah.
which is many
I'm so
different
glad
ways.
you are.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm
That's
so glad
really
that you
great.
came today to share this part of the journey. And like, it helps me understand more of what you were talking about and how that plays into this theme of all of our podcasts. They all have themes. We never know what they are,
Yes.
but this has been about like healing the trauma. And like
Yeah.
the healing and getting us back to neutral so we can go so other people can move on. You can't heal others until you've healed it within yourself.
Right.
Right.
And you healing it just continues that chain down the road.
Yeah.
And that's what this,
Yeah.
because we have to heal.
We do.
We have to heal.
We have that thing that shows up that we have to work through, which leads us to how we're going to work later.
It's truly fascinating and
Yeah.
eye-opening, and so many things were going off for me today when I was looking, or knowing, like I've known you from the event, the Abraham event, but like seeing where it's light years, you're not the same person.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yes.
really fun to see you in this light because you're so like aligned, and this is like there's a light coming out.
Yes.
And I can
Yeah.
see it and I can sense it. So the eagerness and that just like, because I had this like, I'll kind of like end today with this sort of this premise, because I used to think like the world's just filled with healers because the Marilyns in the world. Like, who am I to think that I can do that too, or be a part of that, or doesn't need? There's that voice that goes off in people before they fully realize their gifts. It may have happened to you too. But like, when you really think about it from the perspective of a teacher, think
Right.
about how many teachers are in one school
Right.
teaching one group. Just think of that number and then translate. We're not just teaching kids, we're teaching a planet.
Right.
So it's going to need a lot of teachers. So if you guys are one of those teachers out there listening today, or feel that nudge pulling you forward to something that you know your life is calling you to be, let today just be permission to go for it.
Yeah.
Because look what happened.
Yeah.
And go DoTerrra.
Go
They're not a
there.
sponsor of today's show in any way, shape, or form. But if anyone wants to send me some, I'm always good.
Yeah. But you're
love
using
DoTerrra.
those teaching skills in this work. And I
Yeah.
really love that modality. It sounds very powerful. And I love Bruce Lipton. I started studying him way before anybody knew of him. I think 12, 13 years ago. I was listening to him and I'm like, this is so powerful. Do people not hear this? And people couldn't hear it yet. The word epigenetics was not known at all.
Nope.
And neither was he. He was still, talking about how they fired him.
Right.
And now look where he's come to also. So it does show the growth that we have already experienced, knowing that we're still in the beginning steps of that growth. But that was huge that his concept has developed this modality with the oils. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So,
And how it's spreading all over the planet. Yes.
yeah. Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
it
you
was
so
such a
much.
pleasure.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So thank you guys for listening in today. I hope you got great value. We just really enjoy you being here. And here's to living life just a little bit more consciously
Yeah.
every day. We love you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.